Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Paul. Today we're checking out the Blue Eddy AC 200p power station. We're going to see whether this can actually replace a full 12 volt system in your car. All right, let's get to it. Now before we get started, I want to be completely open and honest as always. Blue Eddy actually contacted me through Instagram probably over a month ago now, asking if they could send me this unit so that I could test it out and do a review for you guys. But just because this was given to me doesn't mean I'm not going to list any flaws that I find with this. I'm going to be completely open and honest as always. Let's get straight into the features and what this actually does. It's a 2000 watt power station. It's 2000 watt hours capacity, so it's got a huge capacity in it, and it's also got a 2000 watt built-in inverter as well. Now let's run through the plugs. Let's start by having a look at the plugs and sockets. You've got your nice big power button here. Push it on, it illuminates. Really nice button there. Takes a few seconds for it to boot up. You can't see it in the light. I'll put it in the dark later on. You'll be able to see that display a lot easier. Now, you have a 12 volt, 25 amp socket here. That one there is probably the only socket you would never use. You have a 12 volt standard cigarette plug there. Then here, this one here, you may think you'll never use, but that would be great for LED lights. Your light strips and that, stuff like that, camp lights. They'll plug directly into that. Then you have a USB-C port. You have 4 USB ports here. So plenty of USB ports. Then over here, you have 2 240 volt plugs, and they'll run 2000 watts. One of my favorite features, up on the top here, there's 2 wireless charging docking stations here. So you just put your phone straight on there and it'll begin charging straight away. So I could be sitting in my camp chair at camp with this next to me. I could be editing a video and just rest my phone on the charging dock here and charging wirelessly. That's a great idea. As far as charging this beast, they give this huge power block which does 240 volts, and the other end will plug directly into that one there, and that'll charge from home. But then this other plug here, we'll run through those cords in a second, you can charge this anywhere. The reason I waited until today to perform this review, yesterday I wanted to completely flatten this unit before charging it to see how long it actually took to charge from 240 volts. Now I took it down right down to 1%, and that took all day. I think it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night by the time I actually drained it down, and I was trying to drain it all day long. So it lasts bloody forever. But yeah, this morning I put it on charge at 8 o'clock, and it was around 12:30 by the time it was fully 100% charged. So 4.5 hours, it's around 400 watts per hour. So it's 2000 watts, so it equals out to about 4.5 hours fully charged, ready to go. As well as getting all the cables and the power brick, you also get your warranty card here, which is a 2-year warranty with your warranty card that you just activate the warranty with. And that has a full booklet here with all the features and benefits of the unit. The other plugs they supply you in the bag, this first one here is the adapter plug. So you lift up that one there, and that one there will plug straight into there. And that has a yellow end on it here. And what you do with that one, if you want to plug it into your cigarette plug in the car and top it up in the car, like as you're driving, just keep it topped up. Then you plug that yellow end into that yellow end there, straight in your cigarette plug, and that will charge there. But then if you get to camp and you want to charge it up through solar, it's got solar charger as well. That yellow plug, same thing, goes straight into there. And it's got your solar plugs right on here, plugged directly into solar panels. One thing I don't like about the solar input on this, it requires 35 volts from solar before the unit will detect that there's a solar plug plugged into it and allow the solar panel to charge the unit. Now, most panels you buy are running around 18 volts because they're running parallel and not in series. So parallel, you get a higher amp output but lower voltage, whereas this requires the lower amp output and a higher voltage. So a bit of mucking around rewiring your solar panels, but it is possible, and it can handle up to 700 watts of power. One more thing I don't like about the unit, even though it does run on a lithium-ion battery, which is really good, it still weighs 27.5 kilos, so it is very heavy to lift around. But they have made really strong carry handles on both sides, and they're well positioned too. So when you lift it, you're keeping it close to your body. So they've thought of that, but yeah, it is very heavy. So that's another factor you've got to consider. One thing I do love about this though, is how incredibly quiet it runs. Now you think about running a generator or even an inverter while you're camping for your 240 volts. Even the inverters, you hear the fan going the whole time, they are reasonably loud. I'll turn this on and have a listen. there is nothing. That's started up now. There is no noise at all. Occasionally you'll hear the fan start up, but the fan is incredibly quiet, even compared to an inverter. It's still a lot quieter. This is an incredibly quiet unit. This is what I was using yesterday to try and flatten the battery all day long. Electric blanket throw rug. Now you know how much power electric blankets use. So we'll turn it on now and we'll see how quiet the inverter is as well. And then I'll put it on high. So we'll go AC on. Now the inverter is powered up. Now turn the electric blanket on, put on high. That's high now. Inverter is still silent. I can't hear any fan at all. And it's using 115 watts. Could you imagine how happy your partner would be if you told them they could have an electric blanket while camping? Even just throwing something like this over on your camp chair, warm you up, be bloody awesome. Dead silent, so you can still use it at night time and not hear it at all. This unit really saved my ass a couple of days ago. Something I didn't even consider. Something your 12-volt system in your car could never do. We were just at home, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and we had a blackout. We didn't know how long the blackout was going to last. So lucky I had this unit here. I plugged my fridge directly into this. Now, I didn't think this would last at all, powering a huge fridge and freezer. I think it was at 82% when I plugged it into the fridge at night, and I expected to come out in the morning and this be dead flat. When I come out to check it, it was still at 58%. So that ran an entire fridge and freezer all night long and still didn't even use half the capacity. One more benefit I see with this system here, say you want to take your boat out. You drive your boat down to the boat ramp, drop your boat in, and then unless you've got a 12-volt system already in your boat, you're stuck leaving your 12-volt system in your car while you go out in your boat, and you've got nothing in your boat. Whereas this, you could have this in your car and then just transfer it straight into your boat and you're ready to go with a full 12-volt system. Even if you want to go camping on the boat for a weekend, this will keep you set the entire weekend. Let's move this into the shade now and run through the panel and how it all works. Now we'll power it up. You can see that green light really does look nice. Now that the display is up and running, you can see they've made it very easy to understand. You get date and time up in the top right hand corner. You have your battery percentage in the middle here, very clear. Your solar input is just here, and it'll tell you how many watts of solar are going into the battery. Over here you have your 240 volt input, so the charge going into the battery. To the side there, you have your AC load, so that's your 240 volts, and it'll show you how many watts you're using at the time. And over the other side, you have your DC load, so your 12 volts, and I'll show you how many watts that's using as well. Now to turn on the DC, simply push the DC button there. It says DC output on, and that's it. The DC is on. I've got my phone on top there with a wireless charger, and you can see how many watts of power my phone is using. Now I've charged my power from 1% right up to 100% on this before, and I use 4% of the battery's total capacity. Now I'll plug that electric blanket back in again. We'll turn the AC on, 240 volts. Now 240 volts is on, we'll turn on the electric blanket and put it on high again. There you can see how many watts the blanket is using, so you can easily monitor the power usage all the time. The menus on the side here you won't really have to go through. You have your home page, your settings with the DC source, with car or solar, eco mode, which you can turn on and you can save up to 50% of the power, languages, buzzer settings, date and time, and that's it for the settings. Very basic. Data, product info, inverter charge info, BMS maintenance, go into that. Battery voltage, there's your voltage, current, and state of charge. And fault history, no faults. One thing they have done, they've got a faults button there with all the different codes. If anything did happen, you can get in contact with them and easily diagnose what exactly the issue is. On the back here it has your product information. You can see the model number, AC200P, battery capacity, 2000 watt hours, 50 volts and 40 amp hours. Inputs, PV, your solar, 35 to 150 volts, DC at 12 amps. Car charging 12 to 30 volts at 8.2 amps. Now car charging will take between 10 to 20 hours if you relied on that purely on its own. I advise just using card charging to top it up. The adapter, 58 volts, 500 watts DC. Output is 220 to 240 volts at 50 to 60 hertz with 2000 watts total. DC is 12 volts with 3 amp total. The aviation socket, if you can find a plug that fits into that, that does a huge 25 amps, so that is a huge capacity plug. The USB 5 volt by 4 at 3 amps each. The USB Type C is 3 amps, cigarette lighter 12 volts, 10 amps, and the wireless charging 15 watt by 2. Working temperature 0 to 40 degrees, working humidity 10 to 90%. One thing I forgot to mention, underneath the unit here has nice big rubber pads here, so it gets a lot of grip. It will not slide around anywhere. It's very grippy. Price is the biggest thing you have to consider when thinking about purchasing this item though. It is around the $2,800 mark, so really not cheap at all. There are cheaper options on the market if you're not going to go out camping too often, if you're just going to go down for the weekend or something like that. There are a lot cheaper options, but the capacity is greatly reduced, so it won't last you very long, whereas this has a huge capacity. Now, if you were thinking about tossing up between one of these and a 12 volt system, I don't think I would ever get rid of my 12 volt system and replace it with this. I think this can complement my 12 volt setup at the moment. I've got my 12 volt, anytime I need it, I can charge anything I want. But then, like I said, if I want to go out in the boat, or even my future plans for this, I want to get rid of this canopy and have a jack off canopy. So if I just want to go for a weekend out with the boys or down to the beach for the weekend and leave my canopy at home, my whole 12 volt setup is going to be in this canopy, which means I'd be going down with no 12 volt at all. Whereas with this, I'll just throw this in the car and I've got as much 12 volt as I need. I can charge all my cameras, drones, everything. It'll last me the whole weekend. So it's a great option for me, but I couldn't replace my 12 volt. One more thing to consider with the cost. It seems very excessive, $2,800, but you compare that with a 12 volt setup, a top of the range one, you're looking over $2,000 for a 2000 watt inverter. Battery for this capacity, you're looking between $1,000 to $2,000. And then you still need a charger on top of that, which you can still spend a couple more $1,000 on. So in comparison, they are same for same, but yeah, just saying $2,800 seems very excessive just to say it. Another thing I forgot to mention about the built-in inverter with this, it's a pure sine wave inverter, meaning it won't damage any of your sensitive devices like laptops or phones or anything else, whereas some inverters can damage those sort of products. This one you can charge absolutely anything up to 2000 watts. Let me know in the comments, is this something you would invest in, or is it overpriced? Or if you've got any other questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment. I'm always happy to answer. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, leave a like. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you really want to support my channel, consider even joining as a member. You'll get exclusive membership perks, and that's the best way you can help me to continue making this free content for you guys. But thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!